Right. So let's go ahead and jump on into, oh, I'm not advancing. There we go. So our agenda, why are we here today? We want to talk, I'm going to go over a little bit about why social media, why are we doing this? I'll touch on a little bit of storytelling and its really powerful role in marketing in general. Then we're going to jump into an engagement and growth on Instagram. So we're going to talk a lot about Instagram on this call. Though we're going to talk about a little bit about LinkedIn in the end, but a lot of this will be focused. We'll dive into planning across platforms, specifically Instagram, but about how you can make that go across all your platforms that you might be on for social. Then we'll dive into actual tips and resources. So up until that point, we're doing more strategy, like how we're using the platform, and then we'll go into some nitty-gritty tips, tricks. I will brush LinkedIn for a bit, and then introduce a really cool filmmakers workshop we have coming up next week for First in California. And at the end, we'll have Q&A. But I will hope to answer some of your questions as they come on here. So the first thing I want to, before we really dive in, I want to get your thoughts on why are you using social media? Like, why is your team using social media? Why do you have Instagram? Why do you post? Why do you share? If you could please drop in the chat, and there's no right or wrong answer here. This is all just what your thoughts are around, why you put the effort into this. And you may have a couple answers. Maybe there's not just one. There may be many reasons why you're using it. So go ahead and drop some of that in the chat here. I'd really like to just get a feel for where everybody's head is around using social media. It might take a little while for it to show up here. All right, they're coming. So I'm seeing engage with the community and sponsors, to share parents into community and to thank sponsors. We love to connect with other teams and document our process. Oh, I love that. It's great to look back on where you've been and what you've accomplished. Community engagement, sponsor knowledge. I love that I'm hearing a lot of sponsor talk. Outreach, yes, it's such a great way to share your outreach and maybe upcoming outreach opportunities. Connect with teams. I love that. And share what each team's doing. Recruiting members. Yes. Fundraising, friend-raising and support to get a message out and spread the overall goal of the team and make sure the community knows who they're supporting. Yes. To connect with other teams, connect sponsors, networking, show the fun. Yes, please. Core value fun. I see that from so many of you, the fun, to share your journey, spread the word. Oh my gosh, this is all so good. Sponsors. Wonderful. Okay, so I think all of you agree that we're here to tell the story so that we can do all these things that you listed here. And so hopefully tonight you may walk away with an idea or two. And I am going to jump into storytelling. So storytelling is the backbone of marketing, social media. It's so powerful because it connects with emotion. So your job, and you all are doing a great job of telling that authentic story of your team, like that real and compelling story, because your team has a unique story. You're not, as you know, just building robots. Every team is entirely different students, different mentors, different experiences, environments. So you have a unique story, and it's up to you, if you haven't already dug into who your team is to identify like what does make you unique, and that's part of identifying your brand. And once you identify some of this, it really is helpful to bring those pieces out. So, your team has a unique story. it's not made up, it's not one story, it's made up of a whole bunch of little stories. And these are the ones you tell on Instagram and other platforms. So your brand is more than just your imagery, right? It's more than just your colors, your fonts, your logos. It's also your messaging. It's the words you use. And you're in Instagram, and we're going to go into this later, but I just want to point out now that captions matter. You know, little tip is that Instagram looks at keywords in your captions to help serve up your post to other people on the platform. So imagery and words matter, but this telling an authentic story and storytelling really has a lot to do with emotions and being real and authentic and letting your humanity show. And so those are some of, you may have noticed the posts that you put out that have human element are most likely the ones that are getting a lot of traction. As we know, a picture is worth 1,000 words, video is a whole lot more. Video is the thing here on Instagram. It gets more love than anything. So photos are great. As you can see the photo on the right here, I love that. It shows that emotion and the joy and the excitement around the competition. But video, as you know, is even more powerful. Instagram's it's a platform for, it's visual, all visual. And you want to make sure that the images and the video that you are including on here are high quality, not blurry, focused, your best ones that are capturing a story in just the image itself. Something I also want to point out is making sure you're capturing the diversity of your team. So when you're posting photos, be sure to pull out, like if you're trying to recruit more girls on your team, consider making sure you have representation in your students in the photos, and also your female mentors. So think about how telling the true story of your team. And I just want to dive into real quick this idea of storytelling and how you can tell a story by saying like a generality and saying, first helps students with communication skills. Or you can have a video of somebody sharing their experience at first. I'm going to share this here and hopefully it goes through my computer well.
I was a really shy person. I couldn't speak to anyone, but now I feel like First has given me the confidence to be able to speak and really share my voice. Now I volunteer as an MC, which is totally insane to me because I never thought I'd be able to talk to so many people like my community.
So I just share that because there's such a difference between saying it helps with communication skills and hearing a real story. Even if that was in print, that's a story she told that is more impactful and powerful than just saying first helps with communication skills. So that's just an example of why storytelling is powerful. And there's, many more examples, but okay, so why you're here. I saw a whole bunch of great reasons why you're here, and I heard a lot of it was community. Something that I really want to point out here, and if there's like two things in this presentation that if you walk away from it, I feel like my job is done. The number one tenet of social media is that it's a two-way street. It isn't a place just for you to post your flyer or, let people know about an event, or even just be sharing what you're doing and then like piecing out. Like it's really a place to build relationships. So it's about connecting with your followers. So, or with the people you're following. So it's that real, it's building community. And the reason behind that is not just so you build a following and you have, a high engagement rate on Instagram. It's because a lot of these relationships that you can build online can be turned into offline relationships. So this is in my life professionally, this happens a lot. And first is, I have relationships with other organizations that I met online, but then they turn into alliances. So it's a two-way street. And so that means connecting and engaging, and we're going to talk about what that looks like. So who is your community? Like who are these people that you're connecting with on Instagram, right? We know kind of who's our community is out in the real community, but on Instagram, hopefully they're reflective. So there are other first teams, your sponsors, alumni, mentors, volunteers, your local organization. Media isn't in here. That's definitely should be a part of it. Your local politicians, other STEM organizations. So these are all people that are part of your community, or that you may want to think about having as part of your community online. All right. I'm not going to go a lot into the algorithm. We hear about the algorithm many times a day, I'm sure. And I'm not telling you about the algorithm because I want you to create posts that game it. Like that's not a way to exist online, and that's not an authentic, real, honest way to be here. But it is important to understand how social media works, so you're playing the game right. Because ultimately, when you're putting your posts out, you want them to be seen by as many people as possible, right? And so just to share that the algorithm is trying to personalize an experience for you. So it's trying to figure out the best post to serve up to you. And it's one of its key factors also is looking at engagement, because it also aims at keeping people engaged on their platform for a long time. So we know the pitfalls of that, but that is how they're set up. So engagement is the name of the game for the algorithm. So likes, shares, saves, comments, using polls and questions, like those engagement elements are what you would like to see people react on your posts. Also, these are things that you should be engaging with other people through these strategies. All right, so real quick, talking about community. If you haven't already done so, like get intentional about creating a list of accounts to follow. And some people play the follow to follow game, like, oh, I'm going to follow all these people, so hopefully they'll follow me back. And yes, that helps. When you follow somebody, they see that you exist and they check you out and they're like, oh, I'll follow you back. So that's nice. But the real reason you want to follow the right people is because you also want to understand what other teams are going through, what your sponsors' priorities are. Same with your schools, your local media, STEM influencers, local government, all those. So it's really smart to get a list of all these people that you want to follow and be in your orbit. Most likely they'll follow you back, but that's not why you follow them. And so I have come to number 2 most important for me. I'm just getting them done in the very beginning. Most important thing, if you walk away from this, is the difference between tags and hashtags. Now, if you've been using social media for a while and you're a seasoned Instagram user, you've got this down. And I see that many teams have this completely down, figured out. They know how the game works. But I think it's super important for you to understand how these work and how powerful tagging and hashtags are, mostly tagging, to connect you with other accounts and also get your content. You spent all this time creating this great content. You want to make sure you have eyeballs on it. So tagging, that's when in your caption, you're writing at First Robotics California. You just tagged me and I get notified that you posted something or that you have a story that you want me to look at. So it's a notification system. We're going to go into the specifics of that in a second. Hashtags are totally separate. That's that pound more than robots. That's one of the hashtag examples. And that's just used to categorize content. Way back in the day, social media couldn't search through your captions. It wasn't searchable. And so the only way it knew what your post was about was if you hashtagged it, and then it would categorize it, and then it knew what to serve up to people. So hashtags are important too. They're also another way to be found and have your content discovered. So I'm going to walk into this hashtag, this tagging idea. So why do we tag? We tag so that your content can be shared and seen by an audience outside of yours. And hopefully it'll increase your followers and your engagement. But this whole idea of tagging a post or a story so that what you post gets shared, let's say you only have 100 followers, like it probably isn't even going to be shared to all 100 followers, but like if you tag me, First California, and I see it and I'm like, ooh, that's great, I want to reshare that. I'm going to reshare that out to my 3,000 something followers. And in doing so, your content is going to be seen more. It's going to have more engagement, more views. Also, there's a chance that people are going to see you because they've never seen you before, and they're going to follow you. So when your content is reshared, it is so helpful in getting more eyes on you and your content. So tag, tag, tag. And I'm going to say, I'm always asking teams, like when you're posting, tag me, First Robotics California, and then I can share your story. So please tag. And so the difference between tagging on posts, reels, and stories. So posts and reels, you just go in and, in your caption, you write the @First Robotics California, or there's an area on there when you're creating your post that says tag, and you click that and you can tag that way. So that's for your posts and reels. Stories what's unique about stories is that, in stories, they only stay up for a little while, and it's only your followers who can see it, unless you tag somebody to share it, right? And so, because when you see somebody's story, you can't just share it like you can a reel or a post. Stories are they kind of live there. But like if you tagged me in your stories, then I could share it. If you don't, I can't share it. I could just see it and I'm like, that was a nice post. Wish I could share it, but I can't get it out. So tag stories so I can share it. And something that a lot of folks don't know, it wasn't really a feature that seemed like it was publicized well, but it happens to me a lot. Well, I'll share a story and then I'll be like, shoot, I meant to tag, first, let's say, because I would hope they'd see it and share my content. Now you can tag after the fact on stories. And so that's what this graphic is here to tell you. There's at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a couple little couple dots that say more. You click that, it lets you go to another screen that says add mention. You add mention, and then you can tag all the people you want in that story. And now those accounts are able to share your story. So very, very helpful. All right. And then hashtags, like I said, they're a way to categorize content. It's telling Instagram this is what my content is about. And so I listed the hashtags that we use. Well, here, California is first in CA. That's our big hashtag. And then first is more than robots and OMG robots is kind of the big two that are used. And then there's the season tags, hashtags that you can see here all in caps, and they have them all in caps. And then first volunteers and first alumni, those are only use those when you're talking about volunteers or you're talking about alumni. So those are specifics. I wouldn't be just those on everything if that's not what your post is about. And then following hashtags is another really great way to also, like, if you use the hashtag more than robots a lot, you should also be following the hashtag more than robots. That helps with your tags. Also, if you follow a tag, all you have to do is go to your search, you put in the hashtag you want to follow. Let's say you type in more than robots, it'll pull up all the posts with the more than robots, usually the most popular. And there's a little option there to follow. And so what that'll do is it'll pepper in your feed more than robots posts, even if you're not following those accounts. Kind of like a sponsored ad would come up and you're like, I don't follow those guys. if you follow a hashtag. So it's a cool way to see content that is related to things you really like, that are outside of your immediate group. And it helps you find some cool people to follow. All right, some more engagement strategies. Let's see, just want to make sure there's no other questions here. Nope. So engagement strategies. One of my favorite is be generous. And this just all ties into gracious professionalism. So reshare other people's content. Of course, don't just be resharing wildly stuff that doesn't make sense. But, you know, if another team is doing something amazing that you're excited about, reshare it. If there's a STEM organization, maybe SWE is holding an event that's in your local community that would be helpful for people to know about, share that out. So resharing content is really helpful. Also commenting, and this is where it comes back to building those relationships. Commenting on posts is really helpful because you're seen then, you know, they're like, oh, here is that person. Here's a little bit of their personality. And so you start to build relationships by commenting, genuine comments, obviously. Liking, saving is really helpful. Saving is helpful for you if you have something you want to save and you're like, oh, I got to get to that later. It also helps with the algorithm. So the more things are saved, the more they're shared. But the resharing also and being generous in all of these engagement strategies comes in helpful when you have something that you really would need shared. So maybe you have a special workshop coming up or an outreach event that you could really use some help from the community sharing. When you're asking, please share, they're more likely, it's the reciprocity concept. They're more likely to share if you've been sharing their stuff. And it's just a good thing to do. And then another one is encourage engagement from your followers. So you can't just expect to post and you're going to get all this engagement. I mean, yes, good content gets good engagement. So just start by posting great content. But also, if there's little tips and tricks that you can do to help encourage that participation. So in stories, you've probably seen the stickers that you can add on that are question stickers. You probably answered questions in stories before that are asking, you know, for this workshop, I asked, what do you want to learn? You know, not just to game the system, but also I truly like to get input on, hey, you know, it's helpful for me to know. So it's a helpful tool and it's a way to get engagement. There's polls, there's the fun emoji slider that, you know, lets you're really into something or not. So a lot of these are really great ways to build engagement that the algorithm is looking at. And in your posts, sometimes asking directly, if you have a question to ask after your post, ask people to share their thoughts or comments or whatever, something related to your post in the comments. Or ask them, please share. This is important. We're trying to get the word out. Like, it doesn't hurt as long as you're not being spammy about it and doing this on every post all the time. Do it where it makes sense. But those are really good tips for engagement. And then the second one is a little more of a next level idea for engagement, which but I think it's a lot of fun. So you've probably seen takeovers before where like First does takeovers where they have influencers come in, and like Jay Flores is, you know, one of First's major awesome influencers, or STEM influencer, but First has a beautiful partnership with. And I think he has supported the gala with some other influencers, but, you know, by him a takeover of First account, not only does it add more interest to First account, because it's like this person who's dynamic and interesting, it also, Jay is going to go tell his tons of followers to come watch him do the takeover. And so this is where you're able to get an audience that's outside of yours, come and watch your content. So takeovers are fun. I mean, they have to be planned out and you have to really think through them. This isn't just like a willy-nilly thing to do. But if you're really at that point in your social media strategy, they could be a lot of fun. Like you could take over maybe your school's account or your ASB account, or maybe you take over another team's account if you're doing some collaborative something. You know, there's fun ways for you to be involved that way. So and then the other one is you may have seen this where you can, when you're tagging, you can tag just regularly, like I've been talking about, tag, or you can tag as a collaborator, and you reserve this only for people that you actually have a alliance, a partnership, collaboration agreement, not agreement, but set up with. So, and what this does is, let's say I'm posting from First California, and it's all about the San Diego regional, maybe a reel for the San Diego regional, but I'm posting it because I was there. I'm posting it on my page, but it would be great if the San Diego First Robotics page also had that same exact reel on their feed, not page, feed. And so when you tag as a collaborator, it lets First San Diego review it and say, oh yeah, hey, that would be great. I'd love to have that post on my feed also. And so then we both have the same reel on our feeds, and it gets so many more views. So collaborator trick is awesome. But it's only to be used when you have a true collaboration. But it's a powerful one. It's something, again, you could do with your school or your district or anybody else you have a closer relationship with. Okay. All right, so does anybody have any questions so far? That was kind of on like tips and tricks and how to exist online and in this engagement focused Instagram world. We're going to go into content ideas, like what do I post now? But before we jump into that, I just want to check if anybody has any questions about the tagging or any engagement strategies or anything that I've rushed through so far here. Oh, are there any don'ts in terms of social media? I mean, that's a great question. Let me get back to you on that one. I'm thinking about don'ts. I mean, again, I think don'ts are a lot of social media is very much how do you want to show up in an integrity in front of people, right? So don't do anything, like check in with your gut on all these things. Is it gracious? Is it professional? Does it feel authentic? Is it real? Don't be spammy. You know, I think those are the big ones, I guess I would get to. If you have anything in mind that you're wondering if it's questionable, you can let me know what that is too. I want to say thank you. Awesome. Thank you, Annika. I often get told not to follow current members and only alumni. You know what? That's a team policy. That's your team policy, and that's absolutely fair. And that has to do with youth protection policies. Some teams don't want to go there because it's but alumni, because they're 18 plus, then they're saying yes. So, you know, that's a team decision. So I totally get that. Remember the gracious professionalism. Yes. What's the best way to build bonds with other teams? Honestly, commenting on their posts, give them some great feedback. You know, even DMing them something that's not, you know, just very cool. But yeah, comments are a really great way, and liking and sharing is a great way to build bonds online. How often do you recommend posting without feeling too overwhelmed? That's like the question of the century. It really is what you're able to handle. Like consistency is key. Like the algorithm loves a consistent feed, but even if you're posting like once a week, like that's great. Like once a week, a summary of what happened for the week, awesome. Like if you want to post more, I mean, some teams are posting daily, like great. It just depends on who you have responsible for your social media. Like, do you have a team? Is it one person? Does that one person have 100 other things on their plate? Like, you know, do the best you can, but don't post just to post and have it be not valuable, because people will notice that and they'll be like, I'm not going to look at that because I know it's probably another blah, you know, post. So make them valuable if you have time. That's a good question. What's the good posting schedule look like to gain engagement? Yeah. I mean, posting daily would be amazing, but I don't know who, like you have to be super dedicated, but once a week would be awesome. And then that's your feed. But then stories are a lot easier. You can post to your stories every day. You can take a picture, a video while you're, building your robot and post it. And you don't have to say anything big. It doesn't have to be anything giant, but it was like, here's what happened today, So there's different levels of where you're posting. Is it a big thought out reel and, big dissertation in your caption, or is it just a quick story, which is great. Like it keeps your engagement alive. So I would pepper in some stories more frequently because they're easy. Anyone willing to be a mentor team? I'm not sure what that question specifically is. If you want to give a little more on that one. Is a student takeover considered professional, meaning for an Instagram geared towards sponsors, would it be appropriate? Yeah. We may do a team takeover for a sponsor here in First California. So, it's a student on behalf of a team would take over a sponsor's account, but it would be all pre-planned, very structured. It isn't like they have the keys to the castle. There's, ways to do it, and, look up takeover, how to do an Instagram takeover. And you could see it online, all the specifics of how to do it safely. But it's a good question. Are there key hashtags we should use? Yes. I had some hashtags in one of the previous slides, and all of these will be available. The replay will be available. Any slides will be available to you. But let me tell you, the hashtags pretty much are first in CA, OMG robots, and more than robots. And then of course our season names. How to keep a good mix between too soulless and being too jokey, unprofessional. Make it a mix, feel like I love the jokey and silly, like if that's who your team is, be sure you're showing up that way. But at the same time, like you're saying, you'll know the mix, you'll know the balance, but definitely include that mix. But I don't think you need to be soulless. You can create posts that are intentional and they have good content, but they don't have to be soulless. So I think you can do serious, more professional and jokey, but don't go for soulless. What time of post attract more attention? Reels are the biggest. Like if you could do reels all day long, that's a strategy I give you. But reels take a long time. They're a lot of work. So I'm not going to lie and say, just do those all the time. But if it's not a reel, then maybe just video. You captured a video that's, 30 seconds long of an interview, just post that. It posts as a video, AKA reel, and it's still video content. So video is king on Instagram. All right. So yeah, those are great questions. I'm going to move on to content ideas, which hopefully you've had a time to kind of take a look at some of these content ideas. And this is just like thoughts. There's so many more here that aren't even captured. I watch all of your posts. They're so unique and clever and out of the box. Those are my favorite. These are just this is to give you some parameters or some ideas to get the juices flowing for your ideas. But any progress you're making, challenges you're having, we love to hear about challenges because we know you're going to overcome them. So it's great to show. It's all about failing and learning from that. So share those successes. Obviously, behind the scene moments are great, especially when you're sharing what's happening behind the scenes. So it's not just for somebody outside, and this is where you think about your audience. It's important to remember that not everybody who is following your content is in first or deeply in first like you are. So a lot of times when we're using all these acronyms and we're just showing something that makes no sense to outsiders, which is fine to still have some of that, but where you can, try to make sure that a community STEM organization watching it understands what's happening, or a sponsor is a little more clear on what's happening, or even a parent that's not that involved and they see it and then they know. So yeah, make sure you're sharing that kind of context for behind the scenes. Interviews are so great, but like short interviews, like that little video I shared with you, that was like 13 seconds, but it told a lot. And interviews can be fun and silly, and you can make them flavorful. You can make them on brand for your team. And that kind of goes into whatever you're posting, share your team's personality, share your culture, your spirit, make it fun, which I think all teams are. And then this one is huge. Share the impact FIRST has had on the students, on your mentors, on alumni, on your community, on your school. Like there's so many ways to share that. And instead of just saying FIRST helps kids communicate well, like in a video, share somebody talking about like how they've changed, like when they came on the team in the beginning to where they are now, what's different about them, what do they love about FIRST? These are kind of leading questions that help really tell a good interview. So there's some of those questions there to help kind of get out the impact of FIRST, because ultimately, if you're hoping to connect with sponsors and your community and get support, they want to know the value of FIRST. And if you're showing it firsthand, that's incredible. And then of course, a lot of you talked about sponsors. Yay, I love that. Thank your sponsors. Like we would not all, none of us would be here without our sponsors. The sponsor recognition kit is in this, and I'll send this out so you'll have a link to it. It was sent to all of your mentors. So if you haven't seen it yet, go ask them for the sponsor recognition kit, because there's templates in there to help you thank your mentors. Like you take the template out and you fill in some things and it like helps you craft a story. So you're telling a story. Let's see, there's other ideas like signing day, after graduation plans, outreach, special projects, team bonding. Love to see team bonding because, again, it's more than the robot. It's also about this belonging and these friendships you guys are building. Share resources, be generous, and then special days, definitely. Those are really helpful for engagement, is when you tie into hashtags that are part of any special days, like engineering week is coming up in the third week in February. We just had Thank Your Mentor Day. It's still Mentor Month. It's not too late to celebrate your mentors here in January. We have Women in STEM. So anyway, lots of content ideas here. Let's see, there's a question here. Aside from tagging, how should we best honor our sponsors? Take a look at that sponsor recognition kit. There's a lot of ideas in there. Outside of, in social media, you can do video, your team thanking them. You can think of creative ways to use video to thank them, or share that, if it weren't for our sponsor, we wouldn't be doing this thing today. But there's also ways outside of social media that are in that toolkit that are really helpful ways to thank your sponsor, but get creative on ways to thank them. Also, when your sponsor has an initiative that's really important to them, maybe they're launching a new product or they had a big celebration for something, like reshare those things and tag them. All right, so Giuliani, have to go. That's all right. Thank you for being here. There'll be a replay. Bye. All right, so content planning and management. So I just gave you a fire hose of ideas. You probably have your own ideas that are way more creative. But like, okay, it's a lot. And I know there was a question like, how much should we post? If you want to post more regularly and more, frequently and consistently, if you have a content plan, it'll help alleviate so much of the overwhelm and the last minute stuff that's happening. And so I highly recommend you sit down and create a content plan, really loose, really big. You don't have to put the actual content in there, but you use an Excel file, or if you use project management tools like Trello or Asana, Notion, Monday, like all of those help you manage a calendar. You can put in messaging and imagery and all that kind of all in one is really helpful. But your content calendar helps you decide when in January you're going to post what, so it also helps you decide, oh, what, I wanted to do this thing in December and I didn't get to do it. We didn't have time. Put it on your calendar for next year. It's going to be in there for you, ready to go. So once you have this place to kind of capture all your ideas for your plan, your posting, the calendar is so helpful. I can't stress that enough. And what do you put in your calendar? So yeah, we put our posts, but how do we know what we're putting in there? I saw your content ideas, but it's best to create content buckets. And so what I mean by content buckets are, and you decide what your buckets are, it's what's important for you to post about. So let's say every month on the second Wednesday of the month, you want to do sponsor posts. So sponsor thanks might be a bucket. Another bucket might be a behind the scenes. Another one might be team student highlights, or maybe another bucket about outreach. In First California, I have buckets that are focused on volunteers, mentors, events, like, so it's all up to you. You can even organize your buckets about like what type of content you want to post around core values, right? You can be like, oh, we're going to post stuff that's fun. We're going to post, our innovations. We're going to post, so diversity. Like, so you can really, it's however feels best for you. This is a fun creative project. It's nothing that's set in stone. It will be ever evolving. Change it, you'll be like, I don't like those buckets anymore. Let's try some new ones. You just have to start somewhere. So anyway, the buckets are a great way of like, these are the things I know I want to talk about, and decide if they go always on a certain week or they move around every month. It's up to you how you schedule it. There is no hard and fast around that. Okay, and and the other piece of with content buckets are special dates. So I mentioned already, like Mentor Month, or we have Hispanic Heritage Month. We have Engineers Week coming up. All those are really great to tie into. First birthday, like all these things. So create a system. Okay, the other one is organization. So we talk about, put your post ideas here. But what about all the photos and video that you get and ideas that are written down in a doc? Make sure you have an organization system for them. You probably already do for your team, but make sure that it's structured in a way so that your social media team has access to these assets. So organization. Otherwise, it takes a long time to create anything and it becomes too much trouble, And so as the social media person or team, you may have your own videos or photos that you create to share on Instagram, or you may be using the ones that happened from this past week during build, so just, let's make sure that it's organized enough so that it's easy for you to think of things to post. All right, we're getting close. Okay, here's another one. This is where we're diving into tips and resources. Tips and resources on your Instagram profile. I just noticed, Mahado, these slides, we're creating a resource section on the first, on California First page. And so these will be on the resource page. It's not there yet, but this will be there along with the Altair recording from last week and some upcoming workshops that we're doing. So we're going to have a resource page where all these things live. Also, I will send a link out through Instagram. So stay tuned on Instagram and you'll find the link there. Okay, so profile. This is another one. This one should have had a star. Maybe this is the third one that's like the thing that I want you to walk away with too, is making sure your profile is easy to understand who you are. Because what happens is, so if you want to be followed, people are going to go, and people don't know you already, they're going to go to your profile and they're going to look at it and try to figure out like who you are, right? And if you don't have your name, or like for me, I get a lot of you who I don't know where you're from. Like, are you a California team? Because I'm mostly following just California teams. And so if I don't see that on there, I was like, if I don't have the time to go research it, and if you don't have your link on there, I can never research you. So like, and most people aren't putting that kind of work into it. I am, because it's important to me that I have all my California teams. But so I recommend that you have your team name and number in your actual name here, not your account, but your name description here. Have your team name and number, but here's the other thing. If I'm, let's say, trying to tag you, you want an award and I want to recognize you and tag you, I can't find your account because I don't know, because it can't be searched if you don't have your name in here. So sometimes it's very hard to find you. So put your name and your team number on there. Also list first in here because oftentimes they all say robotics teams. And I'm like, is it a first team? I don't know. And it, help first brand out by, including first robotics competition team or first Lego League team, if that's what you are. Also your school name and your city is really helpful. And again, the links, put a direct link to your website or use one of the link aggregators like Linktree, where you can click on the Linktree and then that's where you can add all the links you ever need for when you host a workshop or something. So this is really important. And what's funny is that it took me a long time to find an account that I could share with you. So that had all of these. And you can also, if you have enough space, I know space is tricky. If you have enough space, also include, your motto or your awards, or add your personality to it if you can fit it in there, and work on spacing and playing with it if you can. So don't think that it has to be vanilla, but you also can add, but these elements are pretty crucial. What if the students want to change name every season? Then change the name. Don't change your, like at the top here, FRC 2813. Don't change that. Well, I guess that's going to be hard if you change your name every year. I don't know why you want to change your name every season. I don't recommend it, honestly, for branding and knowing who you are. I mean, I get it if you have to do it for a certain reason, but like every season, that's rough with consistency and knowing who your team is. But that gets tricky because you shouldn't be changing your account name very often. You can change the description here easily. That's not a big deal. That has no impact, but that's a good question. What if, will your slide deck be shared? Yes, Will, we're going to share. I'll put a link out on Instagram where you can find this slide deck. And also it'll be on our resources page, which isn't up yet, but will be soon. And so I'll put that there. Oh, yay, 2813. I'm glad you're on this call. That's cool. Your name is in first. If you change it, you need to change it there too. Yeah, for sure. Changing names is tricky. Okay, so I'm going to move on to Reels, and I'm not going deep in Reels. That's a whole other workshop if we wanted one. They're really important. I mean, my first advice is go play with Reels. If you aren't already, just go in, use everything that's just native inside Instagram. No need to go find an app or hook into this or that. Like, just play with how to learn how to create a Reel right on your phone within the Instagram app. Tons of tools in there that are really powerful. I don't even use all of them. So play. But some tips I'll give you are templates are kind of fun. They sometimes are you find a template you like and it has the right number of, let's say it has 8 photos and you're like, oh, I have 8 photos that'll work. You drop those 8 photos in and it'll create a whole reel with music and it looks all awesome. So templates can be fun. They also can be a struggle if you already have something in mind and you're trying to make it fit. It's more trouble than it's worth if you already have like these certain videos that mix with these photos, and like templates are a trouble that way. So look into templates. They could be really fun to use. The other piece, and this is a important engagement hack, is this trending is new. So I wanted to point it out, kind of newer. It will help you find trending audio. So these are the top audios that are hot right now. And these top audios are the ones that Instagram will share, more likely will share Reels that are using these audios. So if you use some of these top audios, it could be helpful in you being seen to a broader audience. You might get on the Explore page. You could even be on the sound page where when you look up a song and you see all the Reels that are connected to those songs, it might pull up. So It's helpful, but don't think that you have to always use a trending song. You could start feeling too generic, number one, if you're just like everybody else. Also, sometimes you have a song in your mind that would work out better, or there's just, don't stick to the trending songs, but I just want to give you that option because it's pretty cool. And on the music, because reels all need music. So the music thing could take you forever sometimes to pick out too. And so sometimes it's easier just to go like, I'll go to the trending and find something easy. There we go. And there isn't too much overthinking that way. On the music note too, so that you're not stuck trying to find a song and taking 100 hours. You also can, when you're scrolling through Instagram, which I know you all are doing, I'm doing it. When you find a reel that you like, you're like, oh, that's a good song. Just go down to the bottom of the reel, look at the song, click on the song, and it'll let you save it. There's a little save button and it saves it to collection. So you just start slowly keeping a collection of songs that you like, and then it's easy to put that on your next reel. Because honestly, the music could take a while. All right. Use captions if you can, because then your reel is searchable, because Instagram doesn't know what you're saying in these, it's not using it in the algorithm unless you're using captions. So using captions is another great algorithm trick hack. When you're creating reels, shoot in live mode. If you have live on your phone, I think Pixel has live also, I'm not sure. And I'm an Apple girl, so iPhone girl. So shooting in live is great because it gives, if you're putting a whole bunch of photos together, if there's a little movement in every photo, it just makes your reel more dynamic. It feels like a video instead of a slideshow, with still photos. So use that movement in your photos, and then play with some trends. So if you're on Instagram lately, you're probably seeing a lot of, we're a first team, of course we're gonna blah, 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 or we're engineers, of course we're gonna da, 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 da. That's kind of like the latest trend that's happening, and that's fun to play with, right? Or there's, around the new year, the trend was what's in, what's out. There's all these trends. Hop on one of those and customize it for your team. If that's your team, if you're playful like that, right? If this sounds fun and you have all this time, if you're looking for creative ideas. All right, I know we're up at the hour here almost. Just wanted to tell you, video, we're going to have a filmmakers workshop next week on the 7th at 4:30. And it's being created by, we're bringing in the filmmakers who created, there's a new first documentary that's coming out on February 12th. And we're inviting the filmmakers to give you guys a workshop on how to create engaging videos. So that's their territory, not mine. So they're going to come in and give you some really cool tips, like how they're going to lift the veil on how they created their documentary and giving you kind of some of those ideas. And the reason why this is important, because video is king on Instagram. Video just tells the story so well. 2 tips I want to give you here. If you're doing interviews, I don't know if you can see it, use a wireless lavalier mic. It makes all the difference in the world. You can see Coach Kelly here wearing one. It just blocks out all background noise. So if you're interviewing anywhere loud, AKA a competition, these are lifesavers. All my videos before this are pretty rough, like that video you saw earlier. Another one is, if you can, shoot in cinematic mode if you have it. That's the one that Pixel, I think, has cinematic mode. I don't know Android. So if you have cinematic mode, which means the subject super tight focus and the background's a little more blurry, it just makes it very focused interview. And then of course, shoot in vertical orientation if you are going to use this for Instagram. All right. I know we're at the hour. So if you gotta go, I totally get it. I won't feel bad if you have to leave. We're probably going to be another 5 minutes here just to talk about LinkedIn real quick. I'm not going into the details. I'm just going into the why around LinkedIn. And so we're really encouraging teams and students to start LinkedIn accounts. Mahato, really encouraging you to start LinkedIn accounts. And the reason is because, as you can see here, I've listed out some of the reasons. You get to tell your story to a targeted audience of industry leaders and professionals. So, if you're really interested in getting this information out to what you're up to in your story out to sponsors and your community and your, the local politicians and the media. LinkedIn is where you want the content. It's not, Instagram is helpful, but you get more traction on LinkedIn and real connection and engagement. So that's a great one to have your team start a page on. Also, starting a LinkedIn page is highly recommended because this is where you get to tell the story of first so much more in detail than a resume. On the bottom, it says first, and you hope people know what that means. But as a student, if you're 16 and over, if you're creating your LinkedIn profile, it's such a great place to be able to share your first experiences, what it's really about, your awards. You can just go deeper, and that's first. Like, that's the other cool things you're doing. So, we're going to have a training in May for the LinkedIn to create a personal profile specifically for first students. So we're going to walk through what that looks like, where to put stuff, how to tell the story, some ideas for, verbiage. So really recommend coming to that in May. So after Champs, we'll have that available. But if you want to start pages now, go for it. And the LinkedIn business page or your page for your team that you want to start, just follow the LinkedIn business page. Just Google that and it walks you through it so easily that that's the way to go. But don't create it as a personal profile. Create it as a business page for your team. All right. And then this is just information about the cool filmmaking secrets for robotics teams workshop that we have coming up. Really excited about this. It's awesome. The filmmakers are just so excited to talk to you guys. So that is coming up on the 7th. And you guys, that is all I have for you. I'm gonna stay around for another like 5-10 minutes. If anybody's here and wants to chat about ideas or brainstorm or whatever, I'm here. I also want to invite you all to connect with me. So if you have a question about something, really the best way to get in touch with me is just DM me at First Products California. If I'm at an event you're at, come say hi. Please come say hi. I love who's running the social accounts. It's neat to put a face with your team. So yeah, come and visit. And I'm going to be at the San Diego Regional. I'm going to be at Western Edge in May, the FLL Open, and probably 2 other California regionals. So to be determined. So hopefully I'll be out there to see all you guys. And then I see one question: what is Linktree? Linktree is a link aggregator. So it's something free. Join it, sign up, and it's a place where you can put all the links that you want to share on Instagram. Because when you have a post that is highlighting an upcoming like this, I was promoting this workshop on my Instagram post, and there's no way for me to link over in that post. So I have to say, oh, the link is in my profile. And then you go up to that Linktree link and you click it, and it has all the links I ever wanted to share in that list. So you're not just stuck with that one link that they give you in your profile, your website. You actually go to Linktree, and it's a tree of all these different links that you can use and share. So that is that. Yes, thank you all for being here. You will definitely get a recording. I'm going to put it on the resources page, and I'm going to put a link to it on Instagram. So watch the Instagram space, and you'll get the link to the replay and to the slide deck. Yeah, I'm so happy to be here, and really, it's important for me to connect with you all again. It's this community of all of us working together to tell the story of First. And I'm going to be on here a little bit. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And if anybody has questions, you can either type them in the chat, or you can just turn on your camera and ask me. So whatever the best way is just fine. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Becca.
Hi.
Yeah, of course, of course.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I have an Explore team, so they're younger, 7 and 8
Yeah.
years old. So is the point of view going to be as the coach on behalf of the team, or do I have the teams help craft the post? How does that work when they're very young?
Yeah, it's probably on behalf of the team, but if you want, you really can choose that point of view. It's up to you, I guess. There is no right and wrong, but I would do it on behalf of the team or you as a mentor. Even you can even sign it from mentor, from coach, fee. So it's up to you. This is where you get to get, creative and make it fun and personal. But you can also, I like your idea of asking the team what they want to say, and if they are, it would be really fun to share whatever their words are, with just their first name and last initial. You don't really want to share any of their personal identifying information on there, but that would be really cute.
Okay, so just mix it up between those
Yeah,
things.
and it's fine as long as you can tell in the post, yeah, it's fine.
Okay, and I also have a challenge team. I mean, they're not much older; they're 10.
Yeah.
Is that so? Like same case, or like when do we start making it more like the teams responsible for the account?
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. It's up to you and understanding your teammates and who feels responsible enough to hold that, and there are actually, I don't even know the exact age on Instagram. There is I think it's 16, it might be 13, and LinkedIn is 16, but Instagram does have an age that you have to be at least. So definitely take a look at that before you hand the reins over. But it's fun. It's a great coaching opportunity to, if you are working with them, and even if maybe they're not doing the actual posting, maybe they're writing it for you and giving it to you and sending you the photos, but you're still actually doing the posting. That's always a nice, transition.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for being here. Any other questions? Feel free to just unmute.
Hello, sorry, my camera doesn't work.
That's okay.
But I was wondering what the best way to either manage an outreach team is or to get more people to join your outreach.
When you say outreach, what do you mean?
I currently do both media and getting more sponsorships, pretty much anything that's not related to the robot.
Okay. So you're needing more help?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, that's something are you feeling like you don't have anybody currently on your team that you can ask? Or are you thinking of like how to recruit for next year?
Both recruiting for next year and also most of my team members who participate in outreach don't come often, so more engagement.
Yeah, well, one thing is they may not come because they don't know maybe what opportunities there are. So if you haven't already explained some of the opportunities for them, maybe like the specific things that you need help with, like maybe you need a photographer, or maybe, you'll break down all the duties you feel like you are holding on to and parse them out and let people know what's available. So sometimes they just don't know that they're needed, and so they don't show up. So I don't know if that's helpful. But then also when you're recruiting for next year, being really clear, because there's a lot of folks that maybe don't join robotics because they do want to do outreach, but they don't think that that's even a thing on a robotics team. So maybe on your, like if you're doing club tables or anything like that, listing out some of the roles and what they do could be helpful.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions? All righty. Well, this has been lovely. I love seeing everybody here, and I hope this is helpful. I will definitely get out the replay and the link to the slides and up on our resource page in the next couple of days. Thank you all.
So much. Great job, Becca. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye, Kathy.